Welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. As you all know out here, if you've already seen some of these, if not, this is your first one, welcome. We are doing an entire podcast series all spring and summer long, leading up to the 2024 Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio, August 9th through the 11th. If you've never heard of that, go to the website, thefantasyfootballexpo.com, get your tickets. Some exciting stuff going on this year. We are adding a sports betting Saturday. That's 4 hours of learning, educating, and being a better sports bettor, whether you're prop bets, whether you're game lines, whatever you're into, that's what it's going to be all about. We're going to get better BETR there. We're getting, Underdog Fantasy's coming in town. They're going to do more of the DFS and best ball. But we've been looking for some good people that are out there in the world that are making an impact when it comes to sports betting. I have one of those sitting right beside me, at least on camera. That is one Mitch Carl from DFS and Donuts on Twitter. Mitch, thank you for being here. Welcome. We're excited about Sports Betting Saturday this year. You're excited about it because this is what you do so well. Welcome. How's it been? How you doing?
I appreciate it, Bob. Thanks for giving me a little platform today. And it was nice to hang out a little bit before the show and talk about some of this on the back end. I'm very excited about the Expo. It's going to be my first time going. I'm a rookie Expo attendee this year. And I'm very excited about what I can potentially bring to the audience and the community. And I cannot wait to meet a lot of the other analysts as well. There's so many people I've been watching for years on these shows and on YouTube and on Twitter that I just can't wait to shake their hand.
Awesome. Well, again, this is new this year. We're really excited about this. We knew it was time to separate it. We were kind of combining them all on Sunday. We had 4 different stage areas with things going on, and it just got really overwhelming for people. Like they wanted to be at this one, but that was going on. And yeah, I play Dynasty, but I'm also into prop bets. And so we just decided, you know what? I think it's time to separate these two. It's great for the weekend. So now we can take that time, take that 4 hours. We have 2 full stages that will be packed with panels going on that people can learn from sports betting 101 to responsible gaming to, whatever you're into, the prop bets, game lines. There's going to be a college fantasy betting one as well. So a lot of stuff going on, Mitch, but let's take a step back for you and to help people know about you. Talk about how you got into this world, whether you started with fantasy football, did you start with sports betting? How did it get started for you? Where did that, we call it anything from obsession to fun to addiction to whatever you want to call it. What got you, what put you into that mind frame of whether, getting into fantasy football and we'll lead maybe towards the betting DFS from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had a longer journey, been around since about 2016 and initially I was teaching at the time. And I used to send out emails, Bob. I would send emails to a group of friends and family, and it would be all about fantasy football and daily fantasy football. And I would send these emails, and I thought I had cracked the code. I was like Neo in the Matrix. I figured it out. Every Sunday, I knew how we were all going to win. And I'd send out these strategy guides just because I loved it. Super passionate about it. Like most people who get into this space, you have to be passionate if you're going to do this long term. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. And at some point, I needed more. So I figured, okay, what can I do here that could allow me to continue to write and also reach out to others and I guess deliver that education behind the actual playing of daily fantasy and fantasy football. I wanted to educate the masses. So I found this site called RotoGrinders, and they had this free blog program. And I hopped on their free blog program. I had written a few articles for, daily fantasy sports, and I won a couple of awards in the first couple of months. And I thought this was just the greatest thing ever. I went from emailing my friends and my dad and, about all things NFL and DFS to being able to hop on this blog, never writing before, and finding something that I didn't know that I was going to be as passionate about it as I was going to end up being. It was just something I was intrigued about and I wanted to try out. Long story short, over the years, I started writing for other companies and found my way to a spot where in the middle of the pandemic, the beginning of the pandemic, I decided to leave teaching. And I dove headfirst and launched a daily fantasy sports company. And this was right at the beginning when there was just NASCAR and MMA going on because all sports had been shut down. So
right.
decision that was, but it, God willing, it's all turned out wonderfully. And over the last 2 years, I actually went from daily fantasy sports to going full-time sports betting, as that was legalized in the state I used to reside in midway through, I believe, 2021. So I went all in on that, and virtually, essentially, has gone from fantasy football to daily fantasy to sports betting.
Right.
With a heavy focus again on the education aspect. So I love the fact that there's this new sports betting Saturday this year. There's going to be a sports betting 101 panel. I mean, these things are right up my alley. There's so many people that are interested. They want to dip their toes in the waters, but they're a little nervous. They're overwhelmed. They open up the app. They don't know which app to use, where to go, how do you place the bets. And
what's
yeah, exactly. And there's so much, and there's so many levels to this as well. It's not just like, okay, let's just we really like Patrick Mahomes to have a good game this weekend. It's like, okay, well, how is he going to have a good game? How can we exploit the Vegas lines on Patrick Mahomes player props for Sunday night's game? And I love dissecting that information, but not just giving them the answer sheet, but more along the way, more or less kind of highlighting the how-to, not just the why, because I think a lot of people miss out on the how-to to even execute what we're telling them with the why. It's just a lot of info, and it goes over people's heads because they don't know what to do with it.
Right. No, that's great. And the interesting thing is, even if you've played fantasy, and I've played it this will be year 40 for me. I'm still always like, yeah, this makes sense, but should I go to another site and maybe get it at -10 versus -15, 115? It's those are things that I'm not real good at, so I just dabble in it because I think I know that he's going to go over under a prop, but I don't think through do I need more options? Should I be in different things? And, and you want to do it right. You want to do it well, but you also don't want to overdo it. And that's where that responsible gaming we'll be talking about at the panels at the expo as well, because it can be addicting. It can, it's winning and losing money. When you play in a fantasy league where you pay $50 in September and maybe you either lose or win if maybe $200 by December, well, okay, it's not that big a deal. Doing it daily can be get a little overwhelming. So having people like you and others educate the folks, I think, is going to be very important. I'm looking forward to those panels for sure. So you talked about that. So talk about, how you now do this, how you promote yourself, the websites, the Twitter, how does people utilize your skills and your knowledge into being betters.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, that should be our goal. My booth this year at the Expo is going to be very catered towards, hey, are you interested in sports betting? Let me give you a 101 pamphlet. Let me give you a little book here that's going to help you kind of get your feet underneath you for this NFL season. Here's a free access code to use on my website this year so that you have free access to it. And you can just, learn as you go, and you don't have to hand over any money to do so. I just want to help support my community. And I'm going to be inviting a lot of people from my Discord and my companies to come meet me out there as well. And hopefully, find out who some of these other people are that I've been friends with in the industry for a long time. And, I think that the best way people can get a hold of me, just follow me on Twitter at DFS and Donuts. I have multiple websites. Some are for sports betting, some are for daily fantasy, some are fantasy football. My goal ultimately this year is to not focus on driving people to A, B, or C, but just to be like, hey, come to the booth, say hello, let's meet. What are you interested in? I have something for you. I'm going to try to deliver the educational background behind whatever that avenue is that you choose. And ultimately, that's going to be my goal at the Expo. And online, I do it no differently, Bob. It's essentially the same exact plan of attack. I mean, even now I'm tweeting out today about, the way people should be approaching bankroll management. That's
Mhm.
I just do this all day, all night on Twitter, and then on my daily YouTube shows. Same thing. I don't want to just say, okay, here's a pick. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe on your way out. I want to say, okay, here's a pick, but here's the best way to apply it. Here's why we're doing this over, here's the answer. Have a good day.
So I assume then you do more than football, because you would be bored 8 months out of the year. So basketball, baseball, football, anything else?
So my one company, we have 8 cappers in it. So handicappers, and they provide picks, content analysis, videos, articles, things like that. And I will completely scratch the itch virtually every day on random things, because they are professionals in whatever their sports are, whether that's tennis, UFC over the weekends. So, I really do dabble in a lot of it. I would say what I personally, if I am going to be somebody giving away X, Y, and Z, I stick to the 3 main sports: NFL, NBA, and MLB. Sure. And I am, like you have mentioned, that if you don't have a plan of attack, if you're not knowledgeable, you could get yourself in trouble really quickly. And I've learned over the years, I am not good at doing multiple sports at once. So I will normally pick something that day that I'm, going to be tracking, going to be betting on, and I'll do that and that alone. And when it's NFL season, I will often not pay attention to anything else for the entire week. And it's just Monday, Thursday, Sunday focus until NBA rolls around, and at which point I do start to diverge my attention a little bit. But that first, about 2 months of NFL action is usually the most lucrative 2-month stretch of the year. It's a lot of fun. You have an opportunity to really, cultivate an edge over the books based on what you're able to research. And I know the fantasy industry is very good at dissecting data and researching angles. So I think there's a lot of upside for people who are already interested in fantasy football to begin doing NFL betting, specifically on player props. As you and I had mentioned before the show, prop betting, very exciting, very fun. It's a very nice transition too, as you're sitting here saying, I like, player A to go out there and do this weekend against the Chargers. Well, you can also take advantage of that based on all, your myriad of different research angles you've covered for yourself. You can usually apply that in some way, shape, or form against a sports book as well. So I'm very excited to kind of give people what that roadmap loosely looks like without really, I don't want to, it's going to be guidelines. We'll say it's guidelines. No rules in sports betting. Very big on guidelines. You have a path to take, but the way you travel that path is entirely on you. I mean, one thing that works for me, Bob, it might not work for you. It might not work for the other person watching this video later or listening on podcasts as well. Everyone kind of has to carve their own path to success. But I do think there's some loose guidelines that the general population should follow if they're going to become a profitable sports bettor. And as you mentioned, if they're going to do it safely.
Right, exactly. So my thought is, I'll speak on behalf of myself. So if I wanted to do that, I'm going to reach out to you. Are you going to help me personally guide it, or do you just have you turn me over to some guys, or how? If somebody says, okay, Mitch, I saw you on the show, great stuff. I've wanted to get into this. You seem like you got your act together. Help me, guide me. Can you do that? Is that something, or is it just, here's a website, read these guidelines, follow this, and you'll be fine?
No, I love that you asked that. So, man, I left teaching in the pandemic to do this. I cannot get the teacher out of me. I just can't, and it's an issue, especially as we do these podcasts. Sure. I won't shut up sometimes. I get up in teacher mode and I'll just start going, and it's just useless trouble comes out of my mouth. But sometimes you get some good information. I can't stop myself. So I have a Discord set up. There's a little over 8,000 people in it. And I do, weekly podcasts inside the Discord. I do, private articles that will, highlight strategies for sports betting. And then I have chat rooms for each individual sport where you can hop in, at me, you tag me in Discord, ask me whatever questions you'd like. And I kind of have my own personal office hours where I'll hop in. All right, I have my litany of questions I want to answer for people. Let me go ahead and organize my notes. Boom, I'm going to hit you back and you're going to get your answer to every question. I literally have gone through this for the last 4.5 years now, since May of 2020. I guess we're rolling up on the 4th year. It's since May of 2020. And I honestly, man, it's probably 99.99% of messages and tags and DMs I have gotten back to everybody, as I just can't help myself. It's definitely not the best for me in my own personal time, but if anybody feels like they are, listen, all right, Mitch is, he's got some good info. I want to support him. I'm going to join his website. I'm going to hop in his Discord. I want to say hello. Then who am I to ignore that person who's asked me that question when they've gone out of their way, out of the goodness of their own heart and their own interests, to set themselves up for success? For me to ignore them, it just doesn't make much sense. And I can't help myself. If somebody asks a question, I have to go down that teacher route. And if I have an ability or an opportunity to deliver any type of education behind that question, I will send the most long-winded answer at times. Maybe that little, too long didn't read notice needs to be at the bottom of some of my messages, but I can't help it. I'd rather give more than less.
So let me ask you this question, because I know that would be me. I would be listening to you and learning and educating, but then there's the other side. And I know these people too, because I get these people when they come to me about the consistency model and my consistency fantasy football stuff. Bob, just give me the answers.
Yeah.
All I want is your tier draft list. Just give me your updated Excel tier draft list, because I just want to take that and I'm not going to think, and I'm just going to go take that to my draft.
Yep.
What about those people? Do you just have come to the Discord, you post your picks for the day and people just take them and they can make them?
It's a great question.
Or is it still more the education?
Yeah, so it's like a two-pronged attack, honestly.
Right.
We have an app where I can actually send out an alert like a text message.
Okay.
So I can at everybody and then have a list form of the 4 to 6 plays. And they're literally just a list. This is for the time crunched individual who's doing this while his kid is finishing up dinner, or they just went down to bed. They've got 30 minutes to get some bets in.
Right. Or you're sitting at the soccer game.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, I'm going to
but 5 minutes before the boss.
I have time to think.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we do the list form daily, and then I am available essentially for the questions, for the comments, for the back and forth. Yeah. And then, of course, as you had mentioned at the beginning about the websites, there's a website, mysparry.com, where you guys can go. There's betting models, there's research sheets, there's an odds finder so you can do your own research and look through all the data and the odds and watch lines change up to the second. So we have a lot for the users and for the community. Most of it is free. Some of it is behind a paywall, but my goal is to ultimately educate as much as I can, provide as much value as I can, so that ultimately the community sits there and says, you know what, I'd like to try what the premium stuff is, rather than be kind of, spoon fed. Hey, sign up for this, for this and that, because we can do this for you. I'd rather just give it all away. People can see that they are able to do this, and this is all the value.
You also quit your teaching job, so you got to make money. So
that's the ultimate thing. You go down there, you get your toes wet, you get some good value, you get some picks, you get a tool or two to use daily, and then hey, you want a little extra, or maybe you're time crunched, like you mentioned, and you don't want to do that, and you just want to open up the app and see what the plays are. We have that for you as well. So I've been doing this long enough to know that everybody who's learning, every consumer as well, everybody takes in information in different ways. Some people need video, some people need audio, some people need written, and others, they just need the answer sheet
or that visual tool.
You're right.
I'm a tool guy. Like I'd be like, okay, let's pop this in. Yeah, I have some ideas, but for this, let me see how this one plays out. Yeah. And I assume we didn't really talk much about DFS, but you do this also for DFS as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something I'll never be able to lose. I can't lose the passion for daily fantasy sports and fantasy football. Those are things that I'm doing on the side for myself personally. And then, the websites are running a very smart and sharp people, pretty much just running those things in the background for me at all times. So it's been a wild several years, and I try not to dive into it too much because I don't want to come off as saying, hey, I have all this, come get it. I really want to try to just, meet the people at the expo and say hello and say, hey, if you're interested in these things, I can help you.
Right.
But it's been a weird journey, Bob, to go from teaching to dive headfirst in all of this and to be in a position
especially to get started when all the sports were canceled.
Terrible
I
choice.
can't even imagine the shock. I'm sure your wife, or if you're married, I don't know, looked at you like, wait a minute,
you sure about this?
But there's no sports. How are you going to make any money on,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to bet on NASCAR. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Sure. We're killing off of it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I love it. So once again, tell everybody where they can find you. Or no, I'm sorry. We missed a question. God, how did I miss?
Oh,
so you're coming to the expo. Tell us about how you found out about the expo. You kind of already told us your plans for the expo. Usually that's part of it too, but just talk about how kind of this all came together. Your brother-in-law is involved now, and family affair. Hopefully next year when the water park gets done. Talk about how you found out about the expo. Some people already in the industry who a lot of us know. Yep. Talk about that past, they already have a connection, and then new connections that you brought your brother-in-law.
Yeah. So Adam Krautwurst, he's been in the fantasy community forever, and he's one of my childhood friends, actually. So he's been trying to get me to go. Yeah. And when I went live with all my websites back in 2020, that summer, he was like, all right, Mitch, there's a lot of things you need to know about this industry. And over the years, he's invited me to go with him. I've just never been able to. I didn't have the time. I do have the time this year. I have the ability to go, and I'm going to be coming. And I called my friend Ray GQ, or you and I had emailed about as well. And I said, hey, my buddy Ray.
I forgot about Ray J too.
Yeah. He's like, hey, Mitch, you got to come. Sports betting is going to be huge this year. Went last year, and he was talking about the flag football game, and he was telling me all about it.
He was the one who tore his Achilles.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up.
So Ray doesn't have real good nightmares from that one play.
Yeah. So, besides him blowing out his Achilles, he had nothing but good things to say. And, essentially after I talked to him, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to go this year. And my brother-in-law, the Hulk bets on Twitter as well.
We'll be interviewing him soon.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. So we're actually going to go up together, and we tried to get, I think we managed to do it, get booths that were right next to one another. So
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
Like
so
42, 43 or something like that.
Oh, beautiful. I couldn't remember either. Sure. But we're excited. We're excited to be there together, to hang out, get the family aspect. Always nice to spend some quality time with him. And then, the ability to meet a lot of people in not just the community, but the industry. I mean, I'm very excited to meet a lot of different people who, I've done podcasts with before. I've hopped on certain people's shows and thought, oh man, I would love to meet this person. Kindred spirits. I enjoy listening to them talk about non-football things as well. And I can't wait to have some personal conversations and meet some people at the expo over those 3 days, where it's not even going to be entirely all about fantasy football. As you know, and you doing this for 40 years, fantasy football probably has the best community ever. Yes. There's nothing like it. Sports betting, DFS, they're great in their own rights, but I'm sorry, fantasy football community is by far the best in the industry. It is very much built on friendships and camaraderie, and you don't get that as much in the other spaces. And while they are growing,
and the funny thing is, you're saying this and you haven't been to the expo. I think it's going to kick up a notch for you.
Yeah.
Because if you believe that now, wait till you get there and all these people are twice as friendly and as nice as they are. It's just amazing. So yeah, awesome.
I'm very excited. I'm happy that I was able to make it work this year. It's going to be a nice experience for me. It's going to fill my cup, and hopefully I'm able to fill other people's cups when they come to my booth and greet one another. And, hey, even if you're not there for sports betting, you're not interested, I'd love if you come by and say hello. I'd love to meet some people.
You'll be doing DFS on Sunday as well on that panel. So.
It'll be a busy weekend.
Yeah, you're going to be a busy guy. So, all right, tell everybody where they can find you again, and then I'll take us out and we'll end the show. Thank you again for being on, Mitch.
Absolutely. You guys can find me at DFSN Donuts. Very odd history on how I landed on that name. I'll happy to share it with you. If you shoot me a DM on Twitter, say hello. And if you happen to hear this before the expo and you want a free month or two prior to then, just DM me. I'm happy to give you several. I do not care whatsoever. Again, anybody that's here supporting Bob, supporting the people that go to the expo, I am happy to support you. I'm in a position to do that. So I got your back. I appreciate it.
Perfect. All right. Thank you again, Mitch, for being on. Once again, Mitch Carl, DFS and Donuts. And of course, the Fantasy Football Expo. Go to the website, get your tickets, get them now. Price will go up June 1st, but hey, just get them now and get it over with. Get your reservations, get your hotel rooms, all that kind of good stuff. Get everything locked in before it's too late. We won't sell out the expo, but the hotel is probably close to sold out. But there's a lot of other hotels around, so don't worry about that. But once again, for Mitch Carl, I'm Bob Lung, Fantasy Football Expo. We'll be followed here by all of the Twitters and everything for the expo to follow. So check it out as we take the outro right now. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.